Well, hello, friends. Welcome to Matt Chat, episode 44. I'm Melissa Ross, your mindset coach with Rise to Wellness. We're going to invite a few people on, and you will see that our topic tonight is control. What about control? Why do we need it? Why do we feel that we need it? Because most times it's a feeling that we need it. It's not that we actually need it, we just feel that we need it. Why do we need that control? And how do we let go of control? So this is episode 44. We're just inviting some friends on here, and we will get to talking about control in our lives. So what do you guys think? Leave me a comment when you come on. Put hashtag live, put hashtag replay if you're watching the replay, hashtag live if you're watching live. And let me know in the comments that you're watching. Say hello, give me a shout out, give me some love, and let me know what you think control looks like for you. When you think about it, when you think about your life, where are there areas in your life that you hold control or carry control or feel like you need control? What are those areas? Pop those in the comments below while we invite our friends on here. All right, friends. Okay, so I see a few of you watching. Please do say hello. Fiona is here. Hello. She says, hey, beautiful. Hello, my friend. Thank you for watching. I hope you're well tonight. And she says hashtag live. So if you are watching live, please too, but hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. All right, my friends, control. Bill Robertson is watching. That'll be my Uncle Bill and my Aunt Jean. Hello. I hope you're well tonight. Raman is here. He says hello. Hello, my friend. I hope you're well. So tonight we're talking about control. Why do we need it? Why do you think we need control? And what is control? What actually is the definition of control? When we think about those things, yes, Fiona says the safety of my children. Yes, absolutely. That's something that we try and control, is the safety of our children. Why do we need that control? And that's the perfect example, my friend Fiona. Fiona says she's awesome tonight. Excellent, excellent. So that's the perfect example of control, Fiona, when we talk about the safety of our children or the safety of a loved one or of a family member. The control, the need for the control over that safety is based on a fear. And most times the need for that control, and the reason why we put control into our space and why we hold that control, is because there is a fear behind it. And we feel that if we put that control, if we put that measure in place, then we can mitigate that fear, or we can deal with that fear by holding on tight to that control. And this came up for me this week, friends. I'm going to give you a real life example of how this came up for me. This is a big one, friends. So this came up for me in a personal relationship this week. So it came up for me in a way that it really took me. It took me by surprise too. And it really took me a while to step back and think about what the fear was behind that control. And the control I'm talking about is my house, inside my home. My children and I live here together. I have two young kids. Most of you know that if you've been watching for a while. And my two kids and I, we have this wonderful life here in our home. Yes, Fiona says fear is a belief system. It really is. It's a belief system, and fear can grip us and stop us from doing things sometimes. And that's why we hold on to that control. We grip that control to stop that fear from coming through, and it can be debilitating. That the control can be debilitating, and the fear can be debilitating as well. And when I talk about fear, we talk, friends, about feeling that fear and then walking with the fear. And when we talk about courage, that's what we talk about. We talk about taking that fear that you have and walking with it. And that's the definition of courage, right? So this week, the thing that affected me and came to me this week, and Fiona says trigger points. Yes, absolutely, trigger points. You're just so on point tonight, my friend. Trigger points too. So things trigger us, and this is exactly what happened to me this week. So I live here in my home. I have my two young kids with me, and we have our little routines, and some of them aren't the healthiest routines. Sometimes with COVID, when COVID hit, my daughter was sick. Sometimes we snuggle in bed and we eat dinner in my bed and watch a movie, and that gave us all some safety. It gave us a sense of security. My daughter was sick and already in bed, and it allowed us to all be together. So there were some things that we had, some little rituals that we had created that weren't the healthiest, but we have our little life together here, and it's close knit, and we're set in our ways, and we have our little rituals and the way we do things. And we had someone come into our lives and come into our home and spend time with us in our home, someone that we love dearly, spend time with us in our home, and things started to change. Things started to be moved to different places in the home. Fiona says, no judgment, darling. So things started to be moved in different places in our home, and in our kitchen something would be moved, and we'd go to find it, and it would be in a different place, and all little things that don't mean much, and Fiona says comfortable. Yes, love it. So all little things that don't mean much, like, I don't know, if a towel ended up in a different place in the bathroom, or if a pod, that when you made your Keurig, your coffee in the Keurig, and the pod got left in, like little things that don't mean anything, but added up all together, they started to become frustrating for me in particular. Because this was my space. This is the space that I've held with my kids for so long, and this is our comfortable place. And having someone come into that space, it started to be frustrating, and I started to react in ways that I couldn't understand. And Chrissy's watching. Oh, I hope you're well, my friend, tonight. I haven't talked to you in a while. I hope you're well. Let's catch up soon, Chrissy. So I started to react in frustrating ways, and it started to come out in ways, and really it came down to control. And then I was able to really sit back with that and verbalize the fact that it was control for me. It was something that I needed to be in control of, and I felt that I was losing control over, even though they were tiny little things and they were all coming together. It was something that was not having control over, and I felt like I was losing control over it. But what I really did is I sat back and I thought about why that was important to me. Why did I feel I need to have control over that? Why was it bothering me so much, and why was it important? And what was the fear? What really was the fear at the root of the loss of that control, right? Because that's really what the root of control is. That's why we have control. People with anxiety have control over things. They keep control, they keep consistency, they keep schedules, and that control is their way of keeping those fears and that anxiety aside. Let's catch up on some messages here. Fiona says, I totally get it. Change is interesting, and it is. And when change happens in our lives, we're fearful of that change, and so we feel like we need to control the situation. We need to keep that control there. Chrissy says she's well, and we will chat soon. Great, my friend. I look forward to that. So I was feeling I was losing that control, and when I really sat back and I looked at what that fear was, the fear was that nobody's been in our lives before. Not before, but nobody's been in our lives for a while. And David is here. He says hello. So the fear was that nobody had been in our lives for a while, and all of a sudden somebody different was in our life, in our home, and he was here in love, in pure love, and to enjoy and to spend time with us. But all of a sudden the fear was, I don't know if I'm ready for somebody else to be in our space and with us, and a part of us, and coming in here, and oh my goodness, all of a sudden they're here, and they're moving things, and this isn't cool. I don't want this to change, right? And so it brings up for me, it brought up all of these fears about the future, about what's happening. Well, why is this person coming into our home and moving things, and what's going to happen if this person eventually becomes part of our home and part of our lives in a more permanent way? Right? And that's anxieties and fear, and that's what that starts to bring out. And that's why we feel like we need to hold that control, and we might get frustration, and we might have really, really tough feelings about that because we're losing that control. But really it's based in the fear. Really, when you sit back and you really evaluate it, it's based in that fear. Let's catch up on the on the comments here. Fiona says, in your home, it is a feeling similar to violation. It is. And it's funny that even though it's someone there that's invited to be there, that's there in love and to be there in joy and spend joyful time with you, it still feels like this violation because you're losing that control. But really behind the control is fear. Fear of something changing, fear of change, fear of, that person being a permanent part of your lives and how that person might fit in. And that's where that loss of control comes in, because the fear is behind it. And all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, no, we're not ready for this. We're not ready for someone to come in and change our lives. And are we ready for this? And it starts bringing up the fears inside your head when you start to lose that control, and sometimes a feeling of violation. Yes, Fiona. David says, wow. Fiona says, hence the need for control. Yes, absolutely. The absolute need for control. Remen says, losing control is a challenge, but no challenge, no change. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely, Remen. If we don't challenge ourselves to let go of that control, then nothing will ever change, and we won't be able to welcome those wonderful things into our lives. So that's why we need it. That's why we feel that we need that control. How do we let go? And Remen just said the most amazing thing to move us into how we let go. If we don't challenge that control, and if we don't challenge those fears, then things will never change. So if I had just kept that control and said to that person, nope, get out of my house, you can't move these things, I don't want you here, then I would never experience the joy and the love that person is bringing into our lives and bringing into our home. So we really, Fiona says, territorial mama bear. Yes, and sometimes we get into that, and territorial mama bear is something totally different sometimes too. Sometimes we need to be that territorial parent, that mama bear or that papa bear, and we need to be that kind of parent to protect our children and to stand up for them. But sometimes it's something good that's coming into our lives, whether it's in our home, whether it's with our children, whether it's protecting the safety of our children, whether it's in our work life, whether it's in our platonic relationships. Sometimes those things are wonderful, joyous situations or people that are coming into our lives with love. And Chrissy says, change is always hard, but if we don't take the leap and accept the change, we never can reap the rewards of the change. Absolutely, my friend. And that's what we're talking about today. So how do we let go of that control? and both Remen and Chrissy hit the nail on the head. How do we let go of that control? We have to challenge ourselves. We have to find small ways to start to let go of that control. So me personally, how can I start to let go? I can start to allow that person into my home and start to allow that person to be a part of my home and to be here in joy and love. And I can do it in a way that I feel comfortable, that makes me feel comfortable with small little changes at a time. So I had a friend today who posted online that she was doing something really fearful for her, and I believe it was going to a specialist's appointment for her eyes, and it was really fearful for her to go on her own. And she took that fear and she walked with that fear, and she went to that appointment on her own, and she was so proud of herself at the end when she got through it. And that's what we need to do. We need to take that fear. We need to figure out what that fear is. Fiona says, got to go through the uncomfortable place to allow and enjoy the journey. Absolutely. Ryan is here and he's watching tonight. I hope you're well, Ryan. So in order to challenge that control and that fear that we have to take those baby steps, and we have to expose ourselves to the thing that we're fearful of. So when we have that control, we take that control and we sit back and we evaluate why we feel we need that control and what the fear is behind the control, why we're really holding on, what we're afraid of, why we think that holding on is going to fix that fear or allow us to be okay, or have that feeling of being okay and give us that feeling of safety. And then we evaluate that fear and we say to ourselves and we figure out with ourselves, what can I do that will allow me to face that fear? What small steps can I do? Almost like exposure therapy. And I talk about exposure therapy often, but almost like exposure therapy, we can take those small steps and we can challenge that fear. We can walk with that fear and do something that that brings us closer to being able to let go of that control. So if it's like Fiona said earlier, how sometimes she feels she needs to have control over the safety of her children because maybe she's fearful that her children, something might happen to her children, if they're in a certain place, or just even during COVID right now. She might be fearful of of her children getting sick. So when we talk about that kind of control, in order to let go and slowly let go of that control, the fear behind that control, whatever those controlling actions are that allow her to keep her kids safe. They could be, say, not letting the kids go to the park by themselves, or not letting them ride their bikes, or staying at a birthday party while their kids are at a birthday party, so that you can keep a close eye, right? So the way to confront those fears are to slowly back away. Maybe stand on your porch and watch them from the porch, and then maybe slowly inch your way in. Maybe step into the house for a minute and then step out again to check on them. Maybe letting them walk down to the park and then meeting them at the park, letting them take that walk. You know what I mean? Slow little exposures to that fear, to that thing that makes you fearful, until you feel comfortable and until you feel that you can let go of that control, the controlling thing that's keeping that fear safe. So Raman says, I've heard a nice quote: ships are safe at the harbor, but they are not made for that. Absolutely, my friend. I love that quote. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today. They are safe in the harbor, but they weren't made to stay in the harbor. They were, and Fiona says, nice analogy. That's an incredible analogy. I thank you so much for sharing that with us tonight, because really, they were meant to sail. And just like us humans, we weren't meant to just sit at home and do nothing. We were meant to live our lives in love, in joy, in peace. So when we hold that control, and this comes up for me too, when we talk about that kind of control, it comes up for me, people with anxiety, with anxiety and that are housebound because they're so anxious and they're not able to step out of their houses. When we hold that control, we're not living. We're not stepping out of our houses and living like humans are meant to live. We're meant to have that interaction with people and to live in joy and experience joyous things and love, and experience the people around us, and have experiences, like concerts and movies and get-togethers with friends and barbecues and all of that. Yes, and Fiona says an experience. Yeah. We were meant to have those things and enjoy those things. And when we keep that control, if we let that anxiety and those fears take over and we keep that tight control, we're not able to experience those things, and we're not really able to live a joyous life. So my friends, this is your homework for this week. I invite you all this week to sit back and evaluate where in your life you're holding control. Where do you think you're trying to control life? Whether it's with your children, whether it's with a romantic relationship, whether it's with a friendship, whether it's at work. Where in your life are you holding control where you don't need to be? And where is that control holding you back from enjoying life and living in joy and in love? And once you identify that control, once you identify where you're holding that control in your life, I invite you to sit back and find the fear that's behind that control, and just discover one little tiny baby step that you can do to face that fear. All right, friends, Paul's watching. I hope you're well tonight, Paul. So I invite you to identify where you're holding that control in your life, figure out where the fear is behind it. Why am I holding that control? So where's the fear behind it? And then what one small little step can I take this week, over the next week, to face that fear and let go of that control just a tiny little bit. Fiona says, create an amazing week. Yes, I agree with you, Fiona. Let's create an amazing week. And let's find one little tiny baby step that we can take to letting go of that fear and letting go of that control to live our amazing best life. Thank you so much for watching tonight, my friends. This has been episode 44 of Mat Chat. I am Melissa Ross, your mindset coach with Rise to Wellness, and I wish you all a wonderful week. I look forward to speaking with you all in the next video. Raman says, thanks for the helpful topic today. Thank you, my friend, for joining in, and I wish you all a wonderful night. Good night.